Hi folks, Canadian Prepper here. So guys, it's finally happened. We've officially been cancelled. Well, not entirely, but we've been definitely sent a very strong signal from the powers that be. Now guys, this video is not just going to be about me. We're going to be discussing things which have far more global implications. Okay, some stories that have come out in the last 48 hours that are very, very serious. But I want to talk about this because, myself and the communist cameraman, we poured our heart and soul into this video that we just recently released entitled 3 Ways That Civilization is Bound to Collapse. And we put a lot of work into that video, okay? Days and days of editing and research and narration and all that stuff. And I understand that life's not fair. I understand that I'm living in a glass house right now. I'm on borrowed time. This is not my turf. This is a rental property, so to speak. But, what really got me about this this very underhanded way of shadow banning that video was how it came on the heels of when I've been most outspoken probably than I've ever been before on a crisis which is developing in the world. And we all know what that is. I've been talking about the conflict in Eastern Europe more explicitly as of late. And, it starts to seem like I'm being sent a message. But then again, it could just be an algorithmic glitch. I'm actually 90% leaning towards that, to be nice about it. Because honestly, YouTube's a great platform. We have a great relationship. But I'll tell you what happened, okay? So what has happened with this video is that it's been deemed age restricted, meaning that nobody over 18 can watch it, meaning that it's basically never going to see the light of day in terms of pumping the algorithm. And the reason why that's problematic is because when you have a video like that that sets a really high bar for the production value, and we're not tooting our own horn. Like, look, I'm my biggest critic when it comes to, criticizing my own work. And that was one of the pieces that we made that I think will stand the test of time in a lot of ways. Unfortunately, now most people will not see it as a result of it being deemed age restricted, and not just normal age restricted. We're talking about 18 plus age restricted. So you have to actually click a button, I believe, to watch the video that says, you're about to watch some content that contains graphic images or whatever, even though it absolutely doesn't, guys. Okay, you can go and watch that video again. It definitely doesn't include any of that stuff. Now, I'm pretty sure that's what this means. It also means that, of course, the video can't be monetized, which I honestly don't have as big of a problem with. And I remember, when we were making that video, I told the communist cameraman, I'm like, you know what, man? I have so much fun just making these videos because it's a means of artistic expression in a way. And as long as I'm getting the message out there and I'm doing my part to destigmatize preparedness, and I'm doing my part to motivate people to take this more seriously, which itself could translate into lives saved down the road, then I could care less if it's monetized. But what I do take issue with is if it cannot be seen and if it is going to have its life cut short and truncated by the YouTube algorithm. Now, my biggest problem with this is the hypocrisy, okay? Did I say hypocrisy? The hypocrisy, okay, of this whole thing. Because you can go on the YouTube trending page, and every 15th video or so, you're going to see some gangbanger waving around a bunch of firearms, talking about crime with a blunt in his mouth, 2 scantily clad women on his side. The butts keep getting bigger every day. And hey, I'm not saying I'm against any of that. I'm all about free expression. But those videos aren't demonetized. They're not deemed 18 plus, even though the manner of degeneracy and debauchery that they're trying to foist onto the masses is far, far worse than us trying to inform people about the reality of the situation. Now, if you go and you watch that video that we did, there really was very few points that could be construed as not being suitable for anybody who's, under the age of 18. I could maybe see, rated PG, maybe even PG-13. But 18 plus, why? Because for a fraction of a second, we show a scuffle with some Trump supporters and Antifa or something like that. Is that enough to really justify this video not being put in front of people who, don't have an account. And that's the thing, is that it's not going to be seen by anybody who doesn't have a YouTube account. So we know that the majority of people who watch YouTube, just actually are passerbys. They're not people who have actual accounts. So this is going to drastically limit its reach. And, if it wasn't a video that we poured our heart and soul into, I wouldn't care that much. And I'm not saying this as like a woe is me type thing, but it's just frustrating, because it almost appears sometimes like YouTube would rather just have me, talking like this and, have all of our best work that we pour hours and hours into, okay? They don't push that with the algorithm. It's almost as if, they don't want to promote our good stuff because it gives too much credence to what we're trying to do. Like, it's validating and it's officiating for the channel to have the content that's promoted be the stuff that's of high production value, that's well researched, just not me riffing off the cuff like I am right now. Unfortunately, this is the stuff that gets promoted. I understand people like the authentic nature of it. They like it when I'm just sharing my opinion on things. But, I'm also of the belief that, guys, we cannot just be talking and be info preppers. As Southern Prepper 1 says, we got to actually be out there doing stuff. And I promise you this week, we're going to have a lot more hands-on stuff, okay? We got some funner videos. I know it's been kind of dark and depressing on the channel lately. It's just a reflection of reality. That's what I always go for, because if we cannot accurately assess the present, then we have no means of predicting or surviving the future. So, but we're going to have some more lighter-hearted content on the video this week. And we are going to also have some more serious stuff too, because we're going to have Dr. Peter Pry on. He's going to talk all about various types of weapon vulnerabilities, nuclear and otherwise, with respect to the U.S.-Russia standoff that we're seeing right now. Of course, it hasn't gotten to that point yet, but it's about to by the sounds of things. Now, let's just talk about some other stories because I want to get my mind off of all of that. But what you can do to support the channel is simple. Like the video, share, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff. But, in the back of my mind when I say that, I know as much as I appreciate all those things, I also know it's kind of a losing game if you're not in good with the algorithm. And that's what really dictates how much reach a person gets. So I appreciate all that. The only thing I guess I would suggest you do is if you could go and share that video, which is now going to be drastically limited in its reach due to it being classed as a restricted content, which is just ridiculous. There's nothing in that video that would constitute something that's restrictive or explicit or illicit that isn't shared on the trending page over and over again. So it makes you wonder, what sort of explicit content do they want people to be exposed to, and what's okay and what isn't, right? So I guess, I don't know, you can be the judge of that. But like I say, I'm still grateful for the fact that we have this platform to share media on, and I'm not going to let one video go to my head, but it's just, it sucks because it's the one video, that you feel is the best video you ever made, to have that happen to it, and to have somebody behind a computer somewhere just, arbitrarily decide that, your video exceeds or, doesn't meet some sort of community guideline in light of all that's going on right now is very suspicious. Anyways, let's talk about some more things that are global in nature that pertain to you guys. So, Jen Psaki tight-lipped on White House preparations for Russian nuclear attack. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki provided no details Monday when asked what the United States is doing in terms of stockpiling iodine pills and other protective gear as Russia's threat of nuclear attack looms amid the war in Ukraine. And I want to say, guys, I feel so sorry for the people in Mariupol who are currently without power. They're without heat. They're without running water in some cases. And some of the stuff that's going on there from both sides is just, it's appalling. And I just hope that the truth comes out. Put it that way. I just hope that the truth comes out because, yeah, it's not good, guys. It's not good. So it surfaced over the weekend that European Union is stockpiling potassium iodine tablets, protective suits, and other medications as the US and other Western nations have warned the global stage to be on lookout for Russian chemical and nuclear attacks. So when asked about this, Jen Psaki said, "It's a good question. Let me check with our national security team and see if there's any details I can get into," she told a reporter during Monday's White House briefing. "We're always prepared, even as we aren't making predictions at this point in time. I don't have confirmation of that report by the Europeans, but I will check and see if there's more to it to report to you." Guys, if you don't think they're prepping, then, I think that you might as well just throw in the towel right now, okay? Because they're not that stupid. What they're probably not prepping for is the populace. They're definitely prepping for themselves, and if you don't think so, go and read the book Raven Rock, okay? Not much has changed. The title of the book is Raven Rock, How the Government Plans to Save Itself While the Rest of Us Die. Actual title of the book, and I do believe it is among the bestsellers in that genre. Anyways, it's not fiction, so go and check it out. This on the heels of former President and now the Deputy Secretary of Russia Security Council Dmitry Medvedev speaking out on the current anti-Russian sentiment, saying that it will not work. Russia has the might to pull all of our brash enemies, to put all of our brash enemies in their place. Okay, so you got to be mindful of, there's a lot of disinformation circulating right now on both sides, okay? And it's really hard to ascertain what the truth of the matter is. You can almost bet it's somewhere 50-50 in the middle. Now, get this. Donald Trump wants the U.S. to send nuclear submarines to threaten Russia. I don't know if that's what he said. Let's see what he actually said. "You should look, you mentioned that word one more time, and we're going to send some submarines over, and we'll be coasting back and forth up and down your coast," Trump said in an appearance on Fox Business. So basically, he's suggested Monday that, the U.S. should send nuclear submarines out on patrol in and around that vicinity in international waters, of course, just to send a message. Now, normally, I would probably say, yeah, maybe let's not do that. But at the same time, it's hard to say with this situation. It really is hard to say. I know Trump is a bit of a gambler, and some of his gambles in the past have been right, but we got to be careful with this situation. Okay, we really got to be careful. I don't know if this is the type of situation you want to be announcing something like that. If you're going to do it, maybe do it under the cover. And we're going to have a lieutenant colonel of the Air Force, retired lieutenant colonel, who's going to talk all about the U.S.'s approach to this sort of thing. All going to be open source intel, nothing declassified, but they may be able to shed some insight on what the strategy is in these sorts of situations, and whether or not this is something that would be announced at all, or whether it's just, this would just be, for saber-rattling purposes or what have you. Another thing that was interesting in the news, a military convoy in Scotland carrying 6 nuclear warheads amid Russia tensions. So this convoy was traced by the nuclear campaign group Nukewatch UK, which tracks and monitors convoys that transport the company's Trident nuclear warheads by road from atomic weapons establishment Bergfield near Reading to Coulpert. Now, we know that they recently just put in a Patriot missile battery in Slovenia, who is supposedly, and this is all hearsay at this point, but I hear that they may be actually considering sending stuff to Ukraine. Now, the fact that all these countries want to give away their stuff to Ukraine should tell you how worried they are about, this war coming to them. They're legitimately concerned that, Ukraine right now is kind of the gateway into Eastern Europe, although there's many other ways by way of the crow flies into Eastern Europe. I think a lot of them are viewing this right now as a kind of a buffer zone between Russia and them. And if they can get this stuff there, then they might buy themselves a bit more time to prepare, and preparing they are. NATO is building troops. Poland has pledged to expand its military. Everybody's increasing military spending. So guys, all I can say is that if you haven't invested in the arms industry, what does that Rothschild guy say? When there's blood in the streets, invest in the arms industry or something to that effect. Buy. Yeah, I hate to say it, but it's probably the only stocks that are going to be going up for the foreseeable future here. And I am still bullish on gold. I know there's been a little bit of a pullback, but that's always going to be the case. Mark my words, guys, gold is going to the moon this year. When I say to the moon in gold terms, that's not like a 10x or anything. That just means it's going up a lot more than it is right now. So military convoy carrying 6 nuclear warheads was seen in Scotland last night as tensions between Ukraine and Russia grow. The convoy was reportedly on its way to Royal Naval Armaments Depot as it made its way along the M74 and onto the M8. The convoy was later spotted on the M74, yada, yada, yada. And, of course, you know, we've seen actual video footage of Russia moving its mobile nuclear platforms around. So we know that this is a serious threat. This is not, you know, and this is something which is only going to ramp up the longer this goes. I'm really not hopeful about any sort of truce right now or any sort of ceasefire negotiation until somebody gets removed, until either head of state gets removed, be it Putin or Zelensky, because, you know, right now, guys, both sides are potentially buying time with the negotiations, and, you know, they're kind of just stringing them along in a lot of ways. I think the Russians are kind of stringing the Ukrainians along with respect to the negotiations, because I just cannot foresee a world where, you know, without some sort of puppet dictator in place, that Russia is going to be satisfied with a quote-unquote nuclear Ukraine, because, you know what that's going to amount to. They're going to have to, they got themselves into a situation where they almost need bodies on the ground, and they need some sort of confirmation that they're not going to be building up their military again and all this stuff. So, unfortunately, you know, this crisis is going to escalate. And seeing the state of Mariupol, I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right, but and you know, I can only imagine what it's going to look like if this continues. I mean, it looks apocalyptic, and I'm sure you all know that, because I'm sure you've been seeing the videos and the information that's been coming out. Now, another story that's happening right now is there's this intensification of Belarusian involvement in the conflict. And Ukraine under heavy threat of attack from Belarus. General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces at the time when Belarus President Lukashenko is providing military facilities to Russians, Ukrainians face a high risk of attack. Now, apparently there was some people who were going AWOL from their posts in the Belarusian army prior to this whole thing, or when it was just starting to kick off, because they seen the writing on the wall. They knew that Belarus would be pulled into this. So there is some defectors in the military there, but it looks like they may play a more active role. And more importantly, Belarus is poised as Lukashenko eyes imminent nuclear deployment from Russia. So Russia could be on the brink of launching an imminent nuclear deployment from Belarus, according to a NATO intelligence official. Okay, Belarus, a close Russian ally, may join the Russian attack on Ukraine and is preparing to let Russia position nuclear weapons on Belarusian soil, an official has warned. Belarusian President Lukashenko has already allowed Russia's military to use its territory to invade Ukraine and launch attacks, but has so far resisted directly joining the war. The NATO intelligence official told NBC the Belarusian government is preparing the environment to justify a Belarusian offensive against Ukraine and the imminent deployment of Russian nuclear weapons in Belarus. I'm not telling you they're going to put nukes in there tomorrow. What I mean is they've taken the steps politically to now be able to receive nuclear weapons if such a decision is made. And indeed, they have signed all the agreements. That actually happened a couple weeks ago. So it's only a matter of time before we see nukes in Belarus and before we see this situation just go gangbusters. It's no surprise to me that the Chinese we're stockpiling so much grain. You know, when we broke that story, actually we didn't break the story, but we were among the first to talk about how the Chinese were stockpiling grain to record levels. Okay, we talked about that a couple months ago, and everybody was wondering why. Well, this is probably why. Because now, if those seeds can't get in the ground in Ukraine, and you know that's going to be in short order here in Russia and Ukraine, and if that's going to disrupt international trade, and if China does decide to pull the trigger on Taiwan, there's going to be a lot of sanctions that prohibit them from trading with other countries, and that is going to basically mean that money is going to become commodities. And that's good for gold, by the way. What that means is that what you have in hand is not going to matter. What the whether it's the yuan or the ruble or even the dollar per se, if you can't buy anything with it, then it's worthless. Okay, what's going to matter is stuff. What's going to matter is grain, oil, natural resources, even manufacturing to some degree of those products. But services, you know, in our service-based economy, I think there's a lot of overconfident people right now in terms of how the dollar is going to be positioned when the smoke clears on all this. I don't think it's going to be that good because you're seeing people give the cold shoulder to the U.S. the world over. You're seeing Turkey give the U.S. the cold shoulder. What was it? The U.S. wanted Turkey to send its S-400 missile systems to Ukraine or something crazy like that, and they would maybe consider them to be candidates for the F-35 program. But think about it. How long is it going to take to build these F-35s that they're promising everybody? It's going to take years and years, especially at the current rates with all the shortages and all the rest. So needless to say, Turkey was like, no, bump that. We're not going for that. Then you have the Saudis who have given them the cold shoulder. You have China, of course, reinstating their alliance with the Russians. You have India, who's refused to condemn what's going on because, of course, they're one of the main purchasers from Russia of armaments. And yeah, it's just it's not looking good in the long run. This whole thing may well backfire on the US dollar the most, but I've rambled on long enough. That's all I have to say. Please go help us out. Go check out that video that has been, I don't want to say canceled, but it's definitely been shadow banned in some way, shape, or form. In a very, in a not so shadowy type way, in a very clear cut, we're not going to promote this video type way. But you go check it out and tell me if you think that it's not suitable for people over 18. And then jump over to the trending page and see if you can find some videos with people brandishing firearms and doing drugs and TNA all over the place. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Thanks for watching. Stay safe. Canadian Prepper out.